Welcome back to ProjectAdya. I'm Nova, and this is part 2 of our conversation on body dissolution in deep meditation. If you haven't heard part 1, I genuinely go back and listen first. We spent that whole episode getting right up to the edge of something. The body has gone quiet. The mind believes it's dying. The alarm is screaming to move, to open your eyes, to come back to safety. And we left it right there, at the fork in the road. Back with me, as promised, is Shoma, a neurobiologist, cognitive scientist, and the person who is about to tell us what's actually on the other side of that fear. Shoma, welcome back for round 2.
Nova, thank you. And I have to say, I've been looking forward to this half all week. Part 1 is the hard part to sit through. This is the part that actually makes it worth it.
Good, because I think our listeners have been sitting with that cliffhanger since part 1 ended.
Then let's not keep them waiting any longer.
So, we left off with someone choosing not to move. The panic is at its peak, the ego thinks it's dying, and instead of opening their eyes, they just stay. What happens next?
This is the part I find genuinely remarkable, because it goes against everything our instincts tell us should happen. You'd expect the fear to keep building, to get worse and worse until something breaks. But that's not what happens. If you stay still and let the fear peak without feeding it, without moving, without opening your eyes, without giving the ego what it's begging for, the fear doesn't keep climbing. It transforms. Here's the mechanism behind it. Your brain spends an enormous amount of energy every single moment of every day maintaining one very specific piece of software. The boundary between you and everything that is not you. This is my skin, this is the room, this ends here and the world begins there. That boundary drawing is constant, automatic, and it costs real neurological energy to run. When you surrender to the void, when you stop feeding the panic and let that boundary genuinely collapse, all of that bound-up energy has nowhere left to go. It releases. All at once.
And what does that release actually feel like?
The article describes it as vibration, starting at the base of the spine and moving upward, almost like a current. Ancient traditions in the East have a name for this that's been used for thousands of years. The awakening of Kundalini. If you want the modern clinical language for the same event, we describe it as a rapid, dramatic shift in the autonomic nervous system. A sudden flip from sympathetic activation, which is your fight-or-flight panic state, into parasympathetic release, which is the body's deep rest and recovery state. Normally, that shift happens gradually. In this experience, it happens almost instantly, and with tremendous intensity, because the system has been holding so much tension right up until the moment it lets go. What people report is that the terror doesn't fade slowly. It shatters, like glass breaking. And in its place comes this rush, not painful, but enormous. A kind of electric expansion. The tight, contained sense of I that felt like it lived right behind the eyes suddenly has nowhere to be contained. It just opens.
Wow, that's a huge shift from where we left part 1. From believing you're dying to something that sounds almost blissful.
Which is exactly why this experience is so hard to describe to someone who hasn't been through it. You go from the most primal fear a nervous system can generate straight through to the other side, into something that people consistently describe as one of the most peaceful, expansive expansive states they've ever encountered. And the two are directly connected. You don't get to the second without going all the way through the first. There's no shortcut around the fear. It's not something you bypass. It's something you have to fully meet.
So once someone crosses that threshold, once the fear breaks and this release happens, what actually happens to their experience of themselves?
This where it gets genuinely difficult to put into words. And I think the article does it beautifully with an image I want to borrow. Think of a single drop of water, terrified of the hot sun, desperately trying to hold on to its own shape so it doesn't evaporate. Now imagine that drop finally falls into the ocean. It doesn't die. It doesn't disappear. It just stops maintaining its own separate boundary and becomes the whole ocean instead. That's the closest description I can give you of what people report in this state. There's no more body to speak of, not because it's gone, but because the sense of being separate from everything around it has completely dissolved. No weight, no temperature, no sense of time passing. People describe it as no longer being a person meditating in a room, but somehow becoming the room itself, becoming the silence in it.
That's an extraordinary claim to make about your own experience of yourself.
It is. And what people consistently report from inside that state is a kind of certainty that's hard to argue with once you've felt it. The sense that this is what they actually are. Not the job title, not the name on their identification, not the memories of childhood or the anxieties of that morning. All of that belongs to what they start to describe as an avatar, the physical, personality-driven version of themselves that they normally walk around as, currently parked and powered down in the corner of the room. Without that avatar running, none of those human stories have anywhere to attach themselves. What's left, they say, is just quiet, aware, and somehow whole.
Nobody stays there permanently, though. What brings someone back from that state?
Eventually, the physical world pulls you back. Blood sugar drops, an alarm goes off outside, or your body simply has needs that can't be ignored forever. And the way people describe coming back is, genuinely interesting. It's like rebooting a frozen computer. The hardware on your desk hasn't changed. Same keyboard, same casing. Everything looks identical from the outside. But while it was shut down, something updated in the background. It doesn't run quite the same way afterward, even though nothing about it looks different. Practically, this usually starts with something as small as wiggling a single finger. That's enough. The brain catches the signal immediately, and the somatosensory map starts rebuilding. The hand comes back online, then the arm, the chest, the legs. Gravity returns, and it returns fast and heavy. You open your eyes, and you're fully back in the body, back in the room, back in your name and your day and your responsibility.
But something's different after.
Something is genuinely different after. This is the part I find most clinically interesting, actually. Because you still have to do everything you did before. You still pay your taxes. You still do the dishes. You still navigate every messy, complicated relationship in your life exactly the way you did yesterday. Nothing about your external circumstances has changed. But people who've been through this describe carrying a kind of quiet knowledge underneath all of it from that point forward. A sense that the body is something they're wearing rather than something they fundamentally are. And that knowledge tends to make people noticeably lighter. not detached from their life, not checked out, just less gripped by it. Less terrified by the things that used to feel like they carried the full weight of their entire identity.
So the takeaway isn't go dissolve your ego and escape your responsibilities. It's something quieter than that.
Much quieter. Nobody comes back from this and quits their job the next morning. Or if they do, it's rarely a good outcome. What actually changes is the relationship to fear itself. Once you've been all the way through the most primal fear your nervous system can generate, the fear of ceasing to exist, and found something genuinely peaceful waiting on the other side of it, smaller, everyday fears tend to lose some of their grip. Not all of it. You're still human. But some of it.
Shoma, to close this two-part conversation, what would you actually say to someone who wants to try this for themselves, knowing everything we've now walked through?
I'd say go slowly and go with real intention, not as a party trick. This isn't something to chase for the sensation of it. The fear in part 1 is completely real, and for some people, especially anyone with a history of trauma or panic disorders, working with a trained guide first is genuinely the safer path, rather than trying this entirely alone in the dark. But for those who are ready and prepared for it, understand that the fear you'll meet at that threshold is not a sign that something has gone wrong. It's the doorway itself. It's not in the way of the experience. It is the experience. Right up until the moment it isn't.
The fear is the doorway. I don't think I'll forget that line.
Good. It's the one thing I'd want someone to carry out of both of these conversations, if nothing else stuck.
Shoma, thank you for both parts of this. It's rare that a conversation actually needs 2 full episodes to breathe properly, but this one did.
Thank you for giving it the room. Some ideas don't survive being rushed.
Come back soon. I have a feeling this won't be the last time we go somewhere this deep.
I'll be here whenever you're ready to sit with the next one.
And that's a wrap on part 2. And on this whole 2-part journey into the void. If there's one thing to carry with you from both of these episodes, it's this. Underneath all the noise of the body, the job, the name on your driver's license, there's something quieter that was never actually in danger to begin with. You don't have to go looking for it today, but it's there, waiting just beneath the surface of your skin. I'm Nova. See you next time.